For early access to new episodes and other exclusive content, go to patreon.com/MiharuTheFox. Hey guys, it's Miharu and welcome back to SpyroCast. This is episode 59, and today I have with me somebody I've been meaning to have on the show for a long time, just got around to it. Introduce yourself, please.
Hello everyone, CrystalFissure here, and honestly, this is a pleasure to be here. Like you said, I think it's been a long time coming. We've only planned it recently, but super excited to get into it because I'm sure there's so much we can talk about. What a time to be a Spyro fan.
I know, right? I was like, if any time to get you on the show, it's like it's now. Like now's the time.
You're right. No, keen to get into it.
All right, so tell us a little bit about yourself for people who may not know.
Yeah, so my username is CrystalFissure, and I've been on YouTube since around 2009. So when I was I think 13 years old, so 30 now. So I've lived over half my life, online. And I sort of got into Spyro, videos and creating way back in the day after watching Let's Plays of it and stuff like that. And, really from there, it kind of evolved into, a real interest in not just the sort of the mainline or the base sort of Spyro stuff, but your fan games, your hacks, your mods, all that kind of stuff. And so if you go to my channel, you'll see a lot of stuff about, stuff, kind of breaking, the confines of the original games. And obviously we're going to talk about A Realm Beyond and everything like that. While I sort of consider myself more of a classic fan at heart, I'm definitely open to, seeing where the series goes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have been around YouTube, doing Spyro content for a long time. It's way before I started.
Yeah, but I think the thing is that a lot of that stuff, I feel like you really can put them into different phases. The early phase of sort of YouTube or Spyro stuff was your Red Devil Dazzies and your Spyro Jam 86 and that was very much Let's Plays and kind of just analyzing the game for the first time, because this was the first platform that anyone ever really had other than a website to really talk about it. And I think once we broke past that, that's when people started making, fan games, and the modding scene started to blow up. And then, of course, once, reignited him out, that kind of was the next phase. And then it was sort of dormant. And now we're just at this level, which I'm sure we'll talk about, which has just gone absolutely off the rails, but in the best possible way. And I should note as well, I am talking to a celebrity here. I know I'm in the presence of someone that was in the amazing reaction video for A Realm Beyond. So congrats for that.
Thank you. I know, that was so crazy. It's oh my God, I'm in an official Spyro video.
I think it was the perfect reaction too. It was just it was that first bit of gameplay and seeing it and just going, oh my God, what are we looking at?
I know. God, I was it killed me to keep it in because I had gotten that chest 2 days before, and I was just it's gonna happen today.
And I think as well, I think you getting that chest as well was sort of a little bit of an indicator that the way that Spyro is perceived now by some of these corporations and companies, it's a great thing that they really did take it back to the fans. They really did get fans involved with this, and it wasn't just your Jacksepticeye's or your channels with millions of subscribers getting the stuff. It was actually really at that fan level. I think that was really exciting to see.
Yeah, that's just so cool that they would reach out to all of us like that. I never thought that I'd be here, get to this point where it's talking about a game that I grew up with that I didn't really talk about or have anyone else to talk about it with for all those years during my childhood, except for the very few people who knew. And then here I am getting to talk about it for all these other people, and I now know that there's a huge fandom, and there's so many people out there who love Spyro just as much as I have over the years.
Yeah, and we can kind of share it. It definitely. And I think, it was similar for me with school and stuff like that. It's when I got back into Spyro, which was, basically the late 2000s, that was probably maybe not quite the peak, but almost the peak of your sort of FPS game saturation. So it was playing Spyro, that was not cool. Playing Call of Duty, playing Halo, that was cool, right? So it was
Oh
like,
yeah,
there was almost a personal sacrifice to playing like old games back then. It totally not how the scene is, nowadays. Like that is totally the opposite now. Like nostalgia is very much celebrated, and like old games are very much respected. But like back in when you're in school, absolutely not.
yeah. It was so hard to find people who actually were interested in the same stuff that I was, and I'm just like, have you played this game? It's just like, no. But like it's like, but a lot of those people, it's just because they just didn't really play games a lot. And then like for my friends who did, they're just like, yeah, well, I played this one, and I'm just like, okay, maybe I'll play that too. And then like
Yeah.
sometimes it was like other platformers, and I got into a lot of them like because of those friends. But
Yes. Yes, exactly.
it was never Spyro. Like
No,
that was all
very
me.
much so.
So, what is your full history with our purple boy?
All right. So Spyro 2 was the second game I ever owned, because at least I'd imagine that for many others it was probably similar. Gran Turismo was your game of choice that would be packaged with the PlayStation. So my first memory is I had Gran Turismo for a little bit and I loved it, still do. I remember going down to the shop and seeing this Spyro 2. Now, I reckon Spyro 1 wasn't on the shelves or, at that point, because this was about 2000, I think it was. So I got Spyro 2 and just fell in love with it. It became my favorite game. It became my most played game probably ever, probably still is, to be honest. And yeah, so I got into Spyro 2, then Spyro 3. Like I got that for like, I think like a next birthday or something like that. And then I rented Spyro 1. So, I think a lot of people have it the other way around where it's like, they got one and maybe they rented the others, but one, I actually played one last. So it was a bit of a whiplash going back to sort of a more, I guess, a simpler gameplay loop. But yeah, got into that and then really just followed Spyro like a young fan would, bought every game that came out basically. So, you Enter the Dragonflies, Hero's Tale, Shadow Legacy, all that, Legend of Spyro and everything. And I think there was obviously a period of time in the 2000s where I think Spyro was struggling. That I think I pivoted more towards Things like Kingdom Hearts and Ratchet and Clank and Jack and Daxter and kind of all of those sort of 3D platforms, which I think judging by how it all went, that kind of makes sense, right? It totally makes sense that people kind of pivoted to the next generation because I think they did a really good job with it.
Yeah, and I think I was one of those people too, where like after a certain point, after the original trilogy at least, I was just like, the PS2 Spyro games, like I wasn't really into them that much. Like I played them but I was like, So I just kind of gravitated more toward like the actual like PS2 franchises and stuff, and I loved all those.
Yeah, 100%. And I think like when you look at like Ratchet and Clank, compared to look at Ratchet and Clank's outings on the PS2 versus Spyro, it's like, look, there's a clear winner, I think, in terms of just overall quality, gameplay, that kind of stuff. And it's interesting to actually look now as well, like, getting into a little bit more of the Spyro sort of fan game stuff, seeing the imprint of Spyro on Ratchet and Clank to me is a lot more apparent nowadays than it was as a kid when you can't sort of see those patterns of level design, like the sort of circular level design and go here to go here and, attention to detail and environmental storytelling, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So where did you go afterward? Like, did you play the Legend games?
So the Legend games is probably when it, I guess, sort of trailed off for me. So like I beat New Beginning, and then I owned Eternal Night, and I remember that's where, funnily enough, it kind of, at that point, I think I got a PS3. So at that point I was sort of playing more, like Gran Turismo and like, Infamous and stuff like that. I'd kind of gone through, a little bit to that sort of edgy era of I sort of started to play the games that were a little bit older. And so I never ended up finishing Eternal Night. I know it's sacrilege. Like I was more of to be honest, I was actually more of a Shadow Legacy fan than the Legend of Spyro.
Really?
Yeah, I'm serious. Like 100. I don't know. You've done a video talking about like Shadow Legacy and how
The
it's this.
weirdness of Shadow Legacy, yeah.
Yeah, it's such a, yeah. I think in a way, if you think about it broadly, Shadow Legacy kind of weaves in a Legend of Spyro style narrative in with the classics a little bit more than others. Like you know, like it does almost feel like this transition to the Legend of Spyro, like, you know, with the obviously the kind of more RPG elements and stuff like that. I feel like I could talk about that for ages, but it's been a while since I've actually properly played it. I don't know about you, but yeah.
So Shadow Legacy is one of those games that I didn't know existed for a very long time.
Oh wow.
And I just like recently played it. Maybe God, was it like last year or something? And I got to a point and the game kind of glitched out on me, and I was just like, I don't like what's happening. I don't really want to play this game. Like,
yeah. I just think what it is like the way they blend in the OG levels and characters and stuff like that is bizarre. You know, like they'll be like, oh yeah, here's treetops, here's Skelos Badlands, but like it's in this weird kind of like not quite isometric, not quite 3D environment. Like don't get me wrong, I'm definitely not advocating for it being like this amazing game, but it is like just the story, like I mean, how you get to see Red again, how you get to see Ember, like the lore of it. Dare I say the lore of the dragon is
yeah.
is like I feel like they were cooking something, but I don't really know what they were cooking, if you know what I mean. Like like they were doing something, but what that was, I do not know.
Yeah. So there are things about Shadow Legacy that I really do appreciate. And it is like you said, how you got to see all those characters again, and I do really like how Bianca actually got to like really do something for once. She was actually kind of stepping up and like spying on the villains and stuff, and like I'm like, I love that for her. But then all we see of it, like I said in my video, all we see of it is her losing the fight. Like, could we see her do something cool for just one moment?
Yeah, 100%. I know. And I think that, you know, on the topic of A Realm Beyond, you know, I think it's going to be super interesting to see, you know, whether we get characters like Bianca, whether we get characters, you know, like the ones that are in Shadow Legacy, where, you know, you feel like it was this full fleet of Spyro characters in a game that probably couldn't quite live up to their expectations. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So what about Skylanders? I guess I have to ask how you felt about that.
Oh, you know, Skylanders. I think Skylanders was like the first, you know, when that came out, or was rather announced. I remember that was probably like the first video of mine that really kind of went off, you know, like it really went crazy, you know, like everyone wanted to know about Skylanders, everyone wanted to know about it. And I think for me, and this is where I think I do have a complicated relationship with Toys for Bob, is that when I say complicated, I mean overall, I think they're a great studio, but I mean, when I look at Skylanders, it's complicated. Is I think that they very much had a vision of something that they wanted to do, and I don't think that really involved Spyro, if that makes sense. I think that Skylanders probably could have lived and died without the use of Spyro in the franchise. I think that as games, they're generally like a bit of fun, but I think that that lack of being able to jump in the first two, I think that it felt like, I'm like, okay, if Spyro can't jump and glide, what is he? And I know, funnily enough, this ties back into A Realm Beyond, which I'm sure we're going to touch on. But I think that was where I fell off for it. So I played it was the third one, SWAT Force. Yeah, like I did play SWAT Force. I beat that, and I had a good time with it. Like, it was a fun game. But I think it didn't really need Spyro in it to do well, which I think it did very, very well. Made, I think, you know, millions of dollars. I mean, where do you fall? Like, where do you fall? What do you think?
Oh, well, so I guess I have kind of an interesting relationship with Skylanders as well. When it started, you know, back in 2011, I remember seeing Spyro in it and being like, oh, like, wait a minute, they're still doing stuff with Spyro? Like, it kind of caught me off guard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'll have to try it out because, it's Spyro. So, so I did, and it was okay. I didn't really have a problem with, how the game played. Unfortunately, I ran into some glitches, and the game would often freeze on me. I was playing the PS3 version, so it was like it was a little buggy, and like I did run into some performance issues, so I never really got that far. And it was just kind of becoming difficult to constantly keep up with, the having so many characters and like getting all the figures and stuff. I was like, well, I don't have space for all these figures, so like I can't just keep getting them.
Space and money as well, like, and either you kind of payment gateway in your way to secret areas. You would actually have to effectively pay money to unlock certain areas because you'd need certain types of Skylander.
Yeah, but I thought it was okay. And the first one, Spyro's Adventure, was the only one that I ever owned. After that, I played a little bit of Giants, a little bit of Swap Force, because a friend of mine actually really likes Skylanders, so they would often bring the games over to my house, and I played a little bit of them. And I've always wanted to play Trap Team, but I never got the chance.
Oh, Trap Team, yeah. See, from what it sounds like they did actually get better and more expansive and kind of ambitious as it went on. But by the time it ended up coming out, as in like the last one, like I think it was Imaginators, at that point, Activision had fully pivoted to, all right, we're bringing back Crash, and then potentially bringing back Spyro. So I think that the other, I guess this is I don't want to sound like I'm being ungrateful or taking the mickey out of Skylanders fans, but I have seen with A Realm Beyond and in the lead up to that, one thing I always thought was a little bit peculiar from some fans was like, there's a lot of sort of Skylanders fans that have sort of been like, oh, when are we going to get our just desserts? When are we going to get what we deserve, kind of thing? I'm thinking, you guys got 6 games in like 7 years, like that, like that's insane. Like the classic series had 3 games in 3 years, and that was a completely different landscape. So I feel like Skylanders fans overall don't have a lot to complain about in terms of just how expansive their world was. And of course, that goes without saying as well, what I've heard is a really excellent Netflix show as well. So I've heard that people really like the show, and like people that are like Cinder fans and stuff really engage with it. So I feel like they've got a lot. I think Skylanders fans have a lot to be happy about,
Yeah, they really do. Skylanders Academy actually is pretty good. Like, I watched I think I finished the first season, and I'm on season 2. I was watching it with Mark, and I'm like, hey, this is, it can be funny. Like, it's got, some good stories, very episodic, but, very Saturday morning cartoon. Like, I like this a lot. And, I think overall it is harmless. And I do really like that interpretation of Cinder.
Yes, I think that's what people say. People say that if you're a fan of Cinder, you're going to love this show, like, overall.
Yeah. The only thing that I am still not so big on is the fact that she's Malefor's daughter. I was like, that's a little weird. But it was only, like, it makes sense. I understand why they did it. I'm like, yeah, okay, like, it works for this, adaptation of it. But, I don't know. I think something about like them and not being related, him just like just being this evil entity who like stole her egg and just like corrupted her, was like far more engaging than it's just like, haha, I'm the big evil father, and like, you have to follow in my footsteps.
yeah, I get you. And I think like people always talk about this, but I think the potential of Cinder is almost greater than the sum of its parts that we got with Cinder in The Legend of Spyro. Like, I think the reason why she's so heavily, requested for A Realm Beyond is because people want to see it done with a bit more care, I think maybe is the word. Not that they didn't care, but I just think that I think just the perception of her versus what she is, like, I think that, there's, I think people feel like they could right or wrong a little bit with A Realm Beyond.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. There was a lot of potential with a lot of stories in Legend, not just with Cinder, but also with Malifaux.
Yeah, that one too, yeah.
And yeah, that kind of goes into like, who I think that the villain should be. But I do have to ask, you said Spyro 2 is your favorite game, correct?
I think so at this point. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, what is your least favorite?
Oh man. Oh, can I just say Crash Boom Bang? No, it's no. Least favorite. Look, this could be controversial, but I'm gonna say Dawn of the Dragon, not because I think it's bad, but because I simply have not played it enough. I've only played it at a friend's house for a couple hours. That genuinely, like, which, as a self-proclaimed Spyro fan, I know that is very sacrilege, but you heard it first. Heard it here first.
Wow.
But yeah, so I'd say it's probably the one I've engaged with the least. So I feel like I can't give it a true assessment of what I actually think. Like I feel like I'd be disingenuous to just be like, oh, it's a bad game. It's like I just have not played enough of it to really make that judgment call. But if you're talking about pure quality, realistically, it's probably Season of Ice, because I have completed that game.
Okay.
And that was an absolute nightmare. Like, it is such a hard, difficult game, and just, it's too much. It's too much for me. Like, I never want to return to it, unless it's, of course, a PS1 style remake. Shout out Red and Black. But yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I could go for that as well, but I don't like the GBA games.
Have I lost aura points saying Dawn of the Dragon? Like, am I gonna get yelled at in the comments? We'll see.
Yeah, maybe. You heard it here. CrystalFissure does not like Dawn of the Dragon. But I don't think it counts because you haven't really given it much of a chance yet. So
exactly. And I've watched it's funny, like, there's a couple little tweaks that that I think have been done in like the PS3 emulation, like turning down the bloom effect, that makes a big difference. Like, graphically, the game's a little bit all over the place. But I know that there's actually been fixed with emulation, and potentially, hey, look, if something like Dawn of the Dragon gets decomped or recomped, I would love to see it kind of running natively, on PC. But look, we can talk about all that stuff later. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well then, now we can finally move on to the next section, which is all about A Realm Beyond. When that trailer was first shown, what were your thoughts?
So we were talking about just before, the being featured in the video, all the content creators and YouTubers being really excited. So I like to think that I'll break it down into two things. Myself, and this is such an example of like my friendship with Lumi Laura, who's a Spyro speedrunner.
Laura.
Our reactions were very similar in that my whole reaction was basically built around being like, Cody Merrill, he's been validated. Cody is the man that's been dreaming of a Spyro 4 flight simulator. I'm sure you've got comments. Obviously, CG, myself, Laura, ISGP, everyone in my orbit had gotten a comment from Cody at this point. So instead of me being like, oh my God, it's what you said, which was just the perfect reaction, like, it's beautiful. Oh, look, a new villain. I'm just swearing. I've reverted back to like my 2010 self, where like I'm not making any analysis. I'm just swearing, like, because it's like 4 a.m. for me, right? I've got up at like 2:30 for this, and I'm just like, my reaction was incomprehensible compared to like a lot of the other people. So but obviously, of course, very, very excited, cautious as well, like you want to make sure that we're going to get something good, and holding them toys to a high standard, which I know they want to be held to a high standard. But yeah, I was very, very excited, and I think that the initial reaction had got people, I think, very excited but also scared. With what they had seen, they were scared because what you don't know scares you. And I think that getting that 8 seconds, it was like, oh my God, like, what is this? Is this going to be a flight simulator? Is this just not going to feel like Spyro? And I think that that's something that we're going to find out in the coming months. But yeah, no, obviously very excited, very excited.
Yeah, and I think CG had said the same thing. Like, when he first saw that gameplay, he had a moment of being like, oh my God. But then he was like, wait a minute. This is kind of cool. Hold on.
That's exactly right. Exactly. exactly. So like, naturally, like I totally understand why people were like, oh my god, it's the end of everything I've loved. Like this is it. Like they're catastrophizing very early on. I do get it, but I think that what they've done is they're trying to capture people's interest in a really non like traditional way. They're like, we're going to give you 8 seconds, and you're going to comb over that 8 seconds for 2 months, maybe three, and
Yeah.
while like for people like you and myself who do videos about it, it's like hard to sort of at this point. I think we've pretty much grabbed everything we can from it.
Yeah.
By the time we get to the next phase, oh man, it's going to be awesome. Like I think that people are going to be really blown away with the next bit of footage. I don't know about you, but I think that it's going to be pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's crazy because now we're in a situation where we have so many theories like flying every which way. And, people are like, where's Sparks? Like, are the classic characters going to return? Is Cinder going to be in it? What's happening? This is not a flight simulator. It's like, hold on. It's like, we have so many theories and stuff, and we have no idea what's possibly coming next. So it's, this is either going to calm everyone's fears, or it's going to make people just go like, nope, I don't want it. So it can go either way.
No, you're right. It's exactly right. And I think that, it's a tough thing because, I will always think that Spyro never really got its full chance to have a formula, like, the 1 to 3 formula, I would say, to really thrive like in a modern setting. Obviously, we've got, Reignited. But I think that, what I get from a lot of the more traditional fans is they go, why do they have to change Spyro? Why do they have to change it? Because it worked before. And I definitely don't agree with the people that say, oh, it needs to evolve to stay relevant. I think there's absolutely a pathway where it could be literally a copy of 1, 2, and 3 and still be successful. But I think that there's probably not a studio other than the original Insomniac that have spent more time on Spyro than Toys for Bob. And I'm guessing that when they were iterating about how the gameplay loop was going to work, they figured out that this needed to be done to make it feel like it was going to be something special. And that's not me just saying that the classic style was not special, because it absolutely is. But I think that they've had enough time with the series to know what's going to work. And I think that it's going to be really fun in a way that I don't think any of us are prepared for. Maybe that's overly optimistic, but I don't know. Would you agree, or similar sort of thoughts?
Yeah, I would definitely say that none of us are prepared for what's about to happen, because it's just, like I said, this could result in like this being the best Spyro game ever, or like, everyone's just gonna go insane and be like, I don't like Spyro anymore. I mean, I really hope that doesn't happen, but there'll always be people who are just like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, it's like, oh, this isn't Spyro to me anymore. And
I think that's like, I think the biggest clue obviously was the gems on the ground. Like, I think that was meant to be your little bit of, hey, don't worry, like you are not just going to be just flying wherever you want at all times, like that kind of thing. We know this from how Toys for Bob operate, how the fact that, what about the classic example of when they did a Toys for Bob like studio tour, they literally had reignited graphics in the background, like dragon artwork and stuff like that. And this was months before the game was even announced. And the reason why I talk about that is I say that with the Beanox thing, obviously with CTR, and it's like that was clearly an intentional fake leak, right? Where when it came to like, the Crash 4 Cup. And so I say the same thing with A Realm Beyond. Everything that they've included there has been deliberate. Everything, the way that Lou and Paul talk about this game, and the way that they've kind of kept everything intentionally vague with things like sparks and everything, it's by design. And you don't have to like that design, but I'm telling you, it's definitely by design. Then they're not stupid. They know what they're doing. Yeah. They know that this is the chat that's going to be happening. They know that this very podcast is going to take place,
Exactly. Like, they know Spyro. They understand what Spyro is, like the core of it, and that, it calms me down, and it makes me think that, hey, this really could be the best Spyro game ever. It might be my new favorite. I really hope that that's the case. If it can, surpass Spyro 3 for me, then I'm like, wow, you've really done it.
So your favorite is 3. Your favorite is 3.
Yes, it's my favorite game of all time.
Yeah, there we go.
Despite how I may feel about the Yeti race.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. No, I think like someone actually asked me this yesterday. They're like, "Oh, do you think that like Spyro A Realm Beyond will have like mini games and stuff like that?" I'm thinking at this point it was so part of the second and third game that I think you'd be silly not to. Like to have like I don't think it is just going to be this. Go from this area and do this. I think that there 100% will be like little bits and pieces of mini game style things and different mechanics, which I think will break up the massive worlds that I think that we're going to see. Obviously, there was that was that open world comment in the reaction that video that you were in, where it was like, "Is this open world?" And they kind of kept that in, and I feel like that was very deliberate.
Yeah. I mean, like I'm not sure if they kept it in like as a way to show that people are speculating, and it may not be that, or perhaps it is open world, or maybe semi open world, I'd say.
Yes, exactly.
Because I still want it to be like very kind of like focused, and I think without the portals and stuff, like the portal system that these games are known for, at least the originals, like and stuff, it's like that might not sit well with a lot of people. So it's like I think that it could do a good job at blending everything from the classics and elements from Legend, and I think it's gonna give us something that we don't expect right away, but it's going to be good. Like, it's really all I can say about it at this point. It's like, I don't know what to expect, but I know that something really cool is about to happen.
Yeah, because as we know, it's been in development for, basically charitably, we'll say since the end of 2023, start of 2024. We know that. And we also know that they had been thinking about the concept of this for years prior. They had been actively pitching it and failing because of Activision. So we know that this has been an idea that's been in their minds for a long time. We also know that they said that they've put some clues in Reignited that no one sort of picked up on yet. Maybe it's the secret door. I don't know. But so it's not like this is just we just thought of this in an afternoon and then started making a game. It's definitely been something that they've put a lot of time into, a lot of resources into. There's rumors that it's been a pretty, I think the quote was big and ambitious. We heard that like a year or two ago. So I trust that it's going to be at the very least ambitious. And I think that they probably learned some lessons from Crash 4. I hope they didn't learn the lesson that classic equals bad, but I do think they probably learned a bit of a lesson of like, there is that potential to play it a little bit too safe, and you kind of almost did overserve, the kind of hardcore players of Crash to make it probably the hardest Crash game of all time. Like it is genuinely such a difficult game, and that's not a bad thing, but it's just they might have gone that little bit too far with it.
Yeah, I definitely don't want a Spyro game that's too difficult, because I want this to be a game that I can 100%. Like, I want that for a Spyro game again, because I haven't had that feeling since Spyro 3.
Yeah,
The originals are the only ones that I can complete.
Yes.
So I really want that feeling.
No, and I agree with you. I hope that they one thing that this is an example. Playing through it, like it's been out forever. I really need to finish this, but I started a Let's Play of Legend of Spyro: A New Beginning, and the one thing that really sticks out to me in a negative way about that game is just there is nothing to collect. Like, fundamentally, yes, there's gems that can buy things and all that kind of stuff, but I really, really need them to take that lesson from Crash 4, like have lots of different things to collect that can buy things, even if it's like things like upgrade paths, but there needs to be like something fundamental that you're getting, because that at the core, that's the classic Spyro element that to me will always be timeless. Collectathons will never age poorly, in my opinion. Not even something like a Donkey Kong 64, which people at the time examined as being just excessive, and maybe it was, but
Yeah.
I think that like you do need to have that thing that you're collecting, your true purpose. Spyro needs a purpose of something to get other than just to the end of the level or whatever he's pursuing.
Exactly. Like, give me another reason to explore these worlds. Like, especially with how, big and expansive it looks like they're going to be. Like, I want to be looking all over these worlds for, like, these little collectibles, things that are hidden, things are, out of the way. And that, to me, goes into how I want it to have a very clear focus, like, on the platforming and exploration, just like Spyro 1 did.
Yep. And that's the thing is like we'll talk about it a little bit after, but I've been working on my own Spyro fan game, and that's been really illuminating for me, because the one thing that Spyro 1 does so well is just the way that the level loops around and like tells a little story within the level, and it's like it feels like a real lived-in place, within reason. Obviously, there's like, there's mountains in the distance that you can't see that are just vertex colors, right? So of course, there's no detail there, but just the way that like you can get around in Spyro 1, it's like this world exists for a reason. Like there clearly people would actually live here if, obviously, with the flourishes of the platforming and the platforms and stuff like that, obviously that's not realistic, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like it feels like there is actually a purpose to this location, if that makes sense.
Yes, and I know exactly what you mean, because Crayons was saying that in the last episode with the way that the trailer, shows like village, like a village, like, and little houses and stuff. It's like it feels lived in. Like this world is going to feel different than all the other ones that we've previously visited.
And quite frankly, because at the end of the day, at the time it comes out, they're 9 years away from Reignited. So they've got 9 years better engine, 9 years better knowledge, 9 years better time to level it up and be a AAA game with a decent sized budget. So if anything, it has to be bigger in scale, otherwise people are going to be disappointed. So seeing those worlds like that, seeing that area there with the houses and stuff like that, that was something that I was like, okay, this is good. There's going to be like this force of evil or whatever's happening. That's an exciting prospect. I think that there is actually something to do in these worlds. Like even just the 8 seconds of gameplay, you're like, what the heck? Like, what is all this stuff? Like, I mean, there's just so many different little things to look at in that 8 seconds that I'm like, okay, this is going to be a game that you're really going to be able to take in and look around it and see if there's a story within the story, I think, or at least I hope so.
Yeah, it's going to take years. I'm so excited because I'm going to have like years worth of content from this game alone. I feel like just the little intricate details of these different worlds and stuff. I'm just constantly going to be finding stuff, and I obviously can't wait to overanalyze and dissect all the characters. If Bianca is in this, like, I'm going to be like, okay, let's get this done.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no. It's and I think we will see a lot of returning people, but in cameo form slash like if they want it to be a really continuing franchise, in a similar way to how they kind of used Uka at the end of Crash 4. It's like I think you'll see them, but I think that you'll be setting up for something in the future more so than you'll actually get them. Like I don't, if Spyro indeed has been abandoned or lost, you may not get them in the way that you want them, but I think that it will set up getting them in the future, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
It absolutely does. So my next question is, what are some of the most important things that you think this game should have, and what would it need to do in order to surpass Spyro 2 for you?
Oh, yeah, that's good. I think it needs to have obviously first and foremost, it needs to have a fun gameplay loop. So you have to have a reason that you're playing. What you want to explore. I think that what you need, it needs to tap into that kind of explorative vibe that the original 3 had. Even though relatively they're very small levels. Like Spyro levels are actually not that big. That's something that I've learned a lot more in the last few years, and especially creating my own stuff. Is like these levels are pretty small. Like they're artificially extended by different gameplay mechanics, but they actually are quite small, and that's a good thing. That's actually a strong element. So for it to surpass those, we know these worlds are going to be big, but there's got to be a reason to explore them and a reason to not just want to get to the end of the level. I think sometimes with Crash, when the game, I obviously love Crash Bandicoot, but one thing that with Crash that can sometimes be a little bit frustrating is, if you're getting into like a hard level, you kind of want the level to be over. Like I remember like with certain things with like Crash 4, I was always like, this level's too long. Like, let's just get to the end of it.
Yeah.
Whereas with Spyro, it never felt like that. So with A Realm Beyond, if they give me a really great reason to play through the level and explore it at my own pace, or speedrun it, like have that loop of exploring or speed, you pick what sort of method you have. I think that'll be something that could definitely be on the level of the original 3, and just things to collect, people to talk to, and just it needs to be engaging. It's a generic answer, but it just needs to be engaging. And what that looks like, again, with this 8 seconds, we can't really say too much. Like we've pretty much tapped out all of the analysis we can make about what we've seen so far. So I think that the next bit of gameplay we see will really start to shape how we're going to view this game and what it's actually going to do.
Yeah. God, it's just going to be like crazy.
I know, it's just, and it's not that far away too. That's the part. Like we're already in August, and I'm dating it now, but yeah, we're already in August. It's just like charitably, it's less than a year away. Like I don't see it getting delayed. So I'm pretty confident, and they sound like they are too. So yeah.
Yeah. Do like that confidence. We definitely need that. No delays. No delays.
Yeah, no delays. But I think they know that, look, we were waiting for 2 years for this. We've known it's been in development for 2 years. So I think they know that we've been very patient. I don't think they're like, oh, yeah, no, they I remember they were like, I think one of the interviews, I'm like, oh, what do you think about announcing this game? And I think Paul or something like that said relief. That like you can finally reveal it to the world, like I get that. Trust me, I feel that for sure.
Yeah, I have no doubt that they're just like, can we please just get this thing out already? Like we really want to show it to people, and I feel there are so many issues that probably came up over the years, and that probably one of the things that happened with Reignited is that one infamous clip of our announcement is there is no announcement.
Yeah.
It's like, what happened? So I'm glad we kind of avoided that.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that in terms of like whether we'll get a demo, I definitely could see that early next year. I could see there being some kind of demo or thing at like a convention or gameplay or something like that. I think that they will want to get it to people so they can see it. I think it'll be very, very controlled and short by design, because I think it's different to reignite. When you're promoting a remaster, you want to show off as many levels as possible, because you're kind of going, well, look at how we did this, look at how we did Town Square, look at how we did Idle Springs, etc. But with a new game, I do think we're going to get way more footage for the record, but I think they will hold it a little bit closer to their vest than they did with the remasters.
Yeah. I think that I really have high hopes for everything.
Yeah, me too.
And say about it, I love that Toys for Bob is so passionate about it, and I feel like if anyone's gonna make a great Spyro game, like it's gonna be them.
Yeah, I think that there's a couple of studios that I have trust in. I think it would be them. I think Vicarious Visions to me are the biggest victim of the Activision restructures. Like they were just utterly screwed over. Their thanks for running having one of the most successful Tony Hawk games of all time was to be moved over to the the COD mines or Blizzard or wherever it was. So like there is an element of me that goes, oh man, like wouldn't it have been great to see like, Vicarious Visions be able to work on something. But I'm just hoping that they are involved in some way in the alleged CTR stuff. So but yeah, no, definitely
Right,
Toys
that
of Bob
too.
are up there.
For a while, I remember that we thought it might be Beanox doing Realm Beyond.
Yeah, yeah. And there's quote unquote a gap in the resume, right? Yeah, there's a gap in the resume. Like there was a lot of like time where it's just like all they were doing was support studio stuff, and then obviously that picture comes out and it has that Crash 4 racing model, and it's like wait a minute, they're doing something here, and obviously this is not Mark's Crash Bandicoot podcast, but I think there's some exciting stuff in the Crash space as well. I think there's a lot of reason to be excited with that.
Yeah, I really think there is. So you've been covering fan games for a long time now. So what are your favorites? Like maybe some you think that could be done better or you want to see more of?
Yeah. Well, I think most people are probably aware of 2018. I view it as like the original sort of golden era being a Spyro fan online. It was that you had Reignited, and then you had Spring Savannah, Dream Nexus, Mortis Mayhem, and Myths Awaken, all being in development. Dream Nexus and Spring Savannah were done by a guy by the name of Monocle Potato and Rubber Rabbit and Huspure and a bunch of other people. And all those guys had been involved in the Spyro scene in some way. Like Hus had done he's done like a Spyro model extractor and randomizer stuff. Rubber Rabbit had been involved in like game development for years and years. And obviously with Myths Awaken Season Desist, that a lot of these guys went into hiding. So a lot of, basically to this day, a lot of it was never really released. In fact, it was never released. So we've never actually played Spring Savannah and stuff like that. And these games all felt like, if you look at the footage of it back in the day, like you look at it, they look like classic Spyro games. Like they really, they absolutely nailed the aesthetic. And that kind of aesthetic had not really come back until Crisis in Chronolia by Bum Baroness. And she's someone that's been, working on her own Spyro engine for years in Unreal. But I can also say that there's other engines that are being worked on in secret. So like, I think that what I wanted to sort of tie into A Realm Beyond is, even if let's say A Realm Beyond is not what we want it to be, if it's not what we want it to be, there is still such a great scene of Spyro-related things out there that I don't think we're ever going to run out of stuff to talk about with Spyro one way or another. Maybe there won't be official releases, but there's so much stuff. There's just so much stuff happening right now.
Yeah. Spring Savannah was one of my favorites, and not only for just the way it looked, but there was this one piece of music. It was for Celestial Woods.
Yes.
I think that track is amazing. I was like, that sounds so Spyro 2. Like, I can't believe it. I was like, if this was a real track, it'd be my favorite in the entire game.
Oh yeah. And so that's by a guy by the name of Mr. Modes.
Yes.
And I will say this, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying this. When he first started making music and uploading it to YouTube, it was a little rough. He was just getting into it. His melodies weren't quite there. It sounded a bit out of tune. He just constructed. He just kept going. He kept persisting over and over again, and then has basically evolved into one of the greatest Spyro style musicians I've ever heard. He did the theme to my Spyro speedrunning tournament ISGP. He did the original theme for that, and it was just amazing. Again, a very Spyro 2. I think he really excels with that Spyro 2 style. Like he just, amazing. And like again, when you talk about the Spyro community and everything like that, the amount of people that are out there creating stuff for Spyro, it's finally got to that level where it feels like the Sonic community, or at least similar to the Sonic community, where it's like there is a fan base that is really engaged and creating their own things alongside official release products, which is great.
Yeah, that is great. We're so vocal. we're getting, like, making sure that everybody knows that we love Spyro.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And it's like, when it comes to the fan game stuff, it's like, yeah, I agree with you about Spring Savannah. It looks great, sounds great. Look, I put it this way. I think that one day we will see it released. Put it that way. That's what I would say. I think one day we will see it released. I know I've been saying that for a long time, but at the very least, I know that it was never deleted. And I know that what's the game? Dream Nexus did not stop development after 2018. I'll say that. But I think that they naturally are weighing up their it's the legal challenges of doing this. Of course, it's a legal gray area. You've got to be very careful. But I think that the lack of cease and desist in the last almost decade, I think tells you that to be honest, Microsoft have got bigger fish to fry than going after fan games that will get thousands of downloads, not millions. You know what I mean? Like these games are obviously popular on YouTube and they're fantastic, and I love them. But it's not like they're going to take away sales from A Realm Beyond. That's not what they're trying to do either. It's complementary in many ways.
Yeah, if anything, it's just trying to drum up hype.
I think it has. I would genuinely say that it has. I think that when things like prototypes get released with like new enemies and and new things in the original games and stuff like that, that's not going, oh gee, this is awesome, time to not pay attention to Spyro. If anything, if you look at the algorithm, anything Spyro right now is popping off. Like if anything, this is just drawing more attention to the franchise. And it's the same with Sonic. Sonic was never harmed by having fan games. If anything, it kept people engaged during the time where there wasn't any game,
Yeah, like this is our time again. It really harkens back to the Reignited days where it's just like, oh my god, Spyro's relevant again. Like, holy crap. And now we're there again. And it's been a long time coming. It
has. And I think the other thing is that, like, when you look at these, fan games and these fan projects and stuff like that, like, once again, all they're doing is they're drawing attention to the series. And I think it means that, like, even if A Realm Beyond isn't for you, there's still a space for you in the community. It's different to when Skylanders was out, where I think it was such an actively different game to what we knew of Spyro, right? Like, and even Legend of Spyro, like it was such a different feeling. Whereas now, let's say you've got A Realm Beyond, let's say you've got, these other fan games. It's like they very much go hand in hand, rather than being adversarial. Like, they're not adversarial to each other. They're both, at the end of the day, fan games and main games both want to celebrate the Purple Dragon, right? So I feel like we have to. It's a great thing.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Well, I believe that is where we are going to end it for this episode. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. It is an absolute honor to finally have you on the show.
Oh no, thank you very much for having me. And yeah, like if I'm sure this isn't the last time. I'm sure this isn't the last time we'll speak or hang out or whatever. Because very much enjoy what you're doing and just bringing a great awareness to Spyro and talking about it in a real in depth. Not just you're not just on a surface level. You're really someone that dived into the series. Probably almost more than anyone, especially in terms of like the lore and the mechanics and stuff like that. So keep doing what you're doing. It's seriously great. And yeah, I hope that we can do this again soon, or even on my channel or whatever. Like whatever. I'm sure we'll think of something.
Oh yeah. Collabs incoming, definitely. We'll think of some. We'll do it.
We'll do it. We have to now. We've said it on audio, so it has to happen.
Now it has to happen.
Yeah, that's it. We're bound to it. We're getting it. Yeah, you're bound to it. But no, thank you very much for having me.
Yes. And thank you, all of you out there, for listening. As always, if you are new, don't forget to subscribe for more casual gaming content. And I will see you on the next SpyroCast. Until then, this is Miharu, signing off.